We all deal with the Sunday scaries, right? Sunday scaries are those oh shit, stressful, nervous, can't sleep, dread feelings that hit you on Sunday evenings when you think about work or just freaking life. Unfortunately, you can feel that same pit in your stomach any day of the week. Thankfully, Sunday Scaries CBD gummies were made to defeat the crap that life throws at us. These are the perfect CBD gummies for professionals on the grind, super moms, students, party animals, and everyone in between. Look, I get really nervous before these interviews that we do. So I take 2 CBD gummies every Sunday before these interviews, and the Sunday scaries are gone. I have no problem with these interviews. So we've partnered with Sunday Scaries to bring you an incredible offer. Head over to sundayscaries.com and use promo code Deluxe15 at checkout to get 15% off of your entire order. That's sundayscaries.com and use promo code Deluxe15 at checkout to save 15% off of your entire order.
Are you looking for a place for all things horror and don't know where to go?
Well, you've came to the right place, my friend. We are the Graveyard Club podcast. For all your horror needs, visit us on YouTube and Spotify, and you can follow us over on Instagram at the Graveyard Club Pod. See you there.
Ciao.
This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Deluxe Edition. I am your host, Casey Shearer. Joining me, as always, the creature from Cleveland, L. Ray Sexton.
What's going on, my friend?
Not too much, buddy. How are you?
Doing swell.
Very swell. Yeah, we just had a great interview with Naomi Grossman. And although we were not allowed to talk about American Horror Story that she starred in, we can talk about it because we're not on strike.
Yeah, we're not on strike.
And Ray, you were telling me about this before we got started here, that she was on one of your favorite seasons of American Horror Story, right?
Yeah. They did the whole carnival theme on the one season where she plays Pepper, and I say that's my second favorite one of the whole franchise. Next to when they did the 80s serial killer, that one obviously is my favorite because 80s slashers is my favorite genre.
Right.
But I also do love me some Carney folks. So her playing Pepper is pretty damn amazing. And that whole thing with, Siamese twins and love triangles. And would that be that'd be a triangle? She's a Siamese twin. Yeah. So the carnival one is the second best one in my opinion. And
Nice.
She actually is the only actress to ever play the same character twice in the whole thing.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah,
That I
so
know.
she's doing a good job at it. So
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, Ray, let's get right into the interview after a quick house cleaning. We are a part of the Deluxe Edition Network. You can find all of the other great shows over at deluxeeditionnetwork.com. And the podcasts of the month this month are The Graveyard Club and Terror Tuesday. Because it's October now, bud.
That's
Gotta
true.
go with the horror shows on the network for October. So the Graveyard Club and Terror Tuesday. Terror Tuesday, hosted by our friend Amber, who's been on the show. It's an Instagram only show. She does live Instagrams every Tuesday. She'll be starting that up again very soon. And the Graveyard Club, they're on YouTube and Spotify, everywhere else that you can find the podcasts. And yeah, a lot of horror movies, a lot of old classic horror movies they talk about. So it's really cool. Check them out. And let's see. If you want to support our show, you can go over to patreon.com/deluxe edition pod and find the show immediately after it's recorded and unedited. So you're not going to get all the fancy pictures and stuff that I post. But you
Yeah,
can hear what Ray and I talk about before and after the show.
that is true. And it's
And
pretty
that's the stuff.
saucy.
That's the stuff that you want to hear.
Yep.
All right, go check Ray out over on Instagram at Deluxe Edition Pod, handling the Instagram posting over there. And you can find all of our previous shows over at deluxeedition.show. It's updated weekly. And if you want to buy a t-shirt from us, you can find a Deluxe Edition Network shirt or a Deluxe Edition with Casey and Ray over at whatamaneuver.net/collections/deluxe-edition. And Ray, where can people find your stuff?
Well, if you want a coffee mug with our ugly mugs on it, you can head over to TeePublic at 10 Cent Beer Night Podcast and get all kinds of cool shit with Deluxe Edition on it. It's all bootleg merchandise, so don't let Casey know because I'm not giving him any of the money for it. So, yeah, don't tell him.
I didn't hear anything.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else, bud?
That's it.
That's it.
Other than please go out and if you could do one thing to help the show, tell a complete stranger about us. Just walk up to some random person at Taco Bell and be like, you know what I like? I like the Deluxe Edition podcast with Casey and Ray. And I think you would too.
Dude. So I have an official Deluxe Edition t-shirt.
Yeah.
And there's hats available now too. We have
Oh, yeah.
I have like 3 hats left. If you want to get a hat, you can message me. But whenever when I'm wearing the logo shirt and someone asks me what Deluxe Edition is, I always tell them, "Oh, it's this really great podcast I listen to."
Yeah, that's
I don't
how
say that
do it.
I'm on it.
No, you can't do that. You say there's just these 2 really cool guys, and they got a podcast and they talk about pop culture, and they interview really cool people.
Yeah, really cool people.
And then they ask, "Well, how'd you find it?" I go, I stumbled on it one day by accident.
It was an accident. All right, here is our show with Naomi Grossman.
Oh,
How are you today?
all right. I'm well. How are you?
Great.
Good.
Hey, with I'm going to start things a little different here. With all of your work that you do you have any crazy travel stories?
Tons.
Because this week I travel for work every week, and this week they have progressively been getting worse, and this week was just so terrible. So give us a terrible travel experience.
Can you give me a little context? Like what do you mean when you say crazy travel story?
All right, so what I was getting to is you have a YouTube channel and you have a short that's called Touch My Junk, which I watch, and it's hilarious. So I was wondering if that was like sort of comes from a true story, and tell us about your YouTube channel.
Sure.
We want to know all about you.
Okay, got it. So to answer your question, I mean, I do have a crazy travel story. In fact, now that you said that, I just remembered the time that I flew to Chile, the country, without any money or credit cards. Like I remember I was going for work, so I figured, I'm covered. But normally I would come with some money, something. Especially I was like going for literally like 2 weeks. But I remember going to the ATM or something before I'd gone, and I left my credit card in the machine. But I didn't realize it until I got all the way to Santiago, and they charge Americans a premium to come in the country, because I want to say we charge them. So basically they charged us for, some kind of a premium to get in the country. And I was like, oh, that's $100 or something. And so I was like, oh, I better put that on a credit card. I don't know that I don't want to get rid of all my cash like that. And so I went to go, give a credit card, and I didn't have it. I didn't have anything. And I was like, oh my God, like, how am I going to live for, 2 weeks traveling around South America? I mean, I guess the exchange rate was in my favor, but still, like, am I going to be like hooking through, the Andes? And that was my first thought, that's how I was going to wind up some like crazy homeless lady on the corner of, whatever. Anyway, it did not happen. It worked out. I got, the production came and fronted me some money, and I survived. But if I definitely recommend, like, do not travel, like, don't leave the house, much less fly 15 hours away without any cash or cards. That's just, in general, not a wise choice.
No.
Anyway, you asked. So where did that come from? Honestly, I at the time, I don't know if you remember, when I created that short, it was right around when that was in the news. Like, somebody had said, like, touch my junk, or I can't remember what it was, but it was like, it was in the news. And so, I spent time in the Groundling Sunday Company, and we were having to come up with sketches all the time. Like, I was literally cranking out 5 to 7 like little like bits a week at least, and a lot of them were making it to the stage. And so I was just in this kind of like time in my life when I was just like constantly like finding an angle on anything and everything. And so I was kind of like, oh, what if you wanted to get your junk touched? You know what I mean? Like, and yeah, so that's where that came from. Just me kind of like, oh, what if? And I've always been, especially like if you watch like more than just that, but like you watch more of my YouTube shorts, you'll see like it's sort of a theme. Like, I kind of tend to go for like inappropriate behavior, especially like kind of sexual, like there's a yoga video,
hot yoga,
same premise essentially. It's like a kind of a yoga teacher that's inappropriately touching. This was before Me Too, by the way. This was like I feel like you watch that stuff and it's kind of cringy now because it's like, oh, you can't do that. But at the time, it was like hilarious.
I think it's still funny. I mean,
well, thank you.
So, have you ever gotten any flack for that? Like, have you ever, like, has anybody said, yeah, maybe that doesn't look too good on your channel, maybe take that down for, I mean, because it is like because of today's culture,
Yeah, you're right. Honestly, no. I don't think my YouTube channel is getting a ton of traffic right now. Sadly, I just, I think people are watching me. If they're watching me, they're watching me in other things, and so I don't think that's really it. But I also think it's okay. Like, times change and comedy changes, and there's so many things that we see now and we realize, oh, that's so dated. Like, you would never, like, Tropic Thunder, you wouldn't cast Robert Downey Jr. in that role right now. Like,
right.
I mean, you wouldn't even cast me as like Pepper right now. You know what I mean? So like, culture changes, and don't get me wrong. Like, I don't love the direction it's going, quite honestly. I think we've gotten way too sensitive and too woke almost. So, but I also think that it's a pendulum. I think we'll swing back the other way, and all of a sudden my YouTube channel will be really, really popular again.
Yeah.
Maybe not popular, but it just won't be quite as kind of cringy.
What's a joke you've written recently that you won't use on your YouTube channel?
You're trying to get me canceled, aren't you?
No, I'm just saying, we enjoy a good joke here. And if you're not going to use it over there, you can use it over here. Because once again, we don't have a lot of people paying attention to us either. So
Oh, there you go.
say whatever you want.
I don't know because when I have jokes, I usually go ahead and like write them and use them. I don't have jokes that I'm like, oh, can't say that. There's some jokes in my show, my one woman show, my new show that I'm working on now. Well, working on. It debuted in Los Angeles in June, and it'll be off Broadway in New York in January. And there's some jokes in there that they're like, you might not want to say that, but I'm like, no, like that's me. That's who I am. That's funny to me. So, and actually, it's funny to the audience because they were laughing. So, I don't know. I'm just not in the business of trying to. I mean, here's the thing. My show is my show. I'm not having to answer to some studio or, there's when you are a small indie production, you get to do those things and say those things. When you're working for, Disney or whatever, yeah, you got to answer to the man. But I don't. So I get to say whatever I want.
Yeah,
That's
good.
awesome.
Yeah, that's good to not work for the mouse.
Yeah, the man, the mouse.
Yeah, it's good that there are comedians like you out there. There's several that I like that are also they say, fuck the man. Basically, you have to just and that's what's great about podcasts too. Is there's so many individual podcasts out there that comedians have a platform to work on. You mentioned the Groundlings earlier. Tell us about that. The journey to the Groundlings, and yeah, I know you got fired from the Groundlings. So tell us all about that.
I mean, fired is a very dramatic word, and
Okay.
I wouldn't call it that. They weren't paying me, so you don't get, you don't. I was dismissed from the Groundlings, but they weren't paying me to fire me.
Okay.
The Groundlings is a theater in Los Angeles that is it's, I don't want to say pyramid scheme because again that's the wrong idea, but I feel like it's one of those places where anyone and everyone who was ever told they were funny in their high school ever comes, and it starts as this like massive smorgasbord of people who, like I said, were funny in some way at one point, and then it goes from there, like, and then they whittle it down, and there's classes, and some continue and some get left by the wayside, and I continued basically as high as you can go until you become a Groundling. So there's various classes, and most people get held back a time or two, just because it's very competitive. And I was lucky enough to never be held back. I zoomed right through and went all the way to the Sunday show, which is the last rung before the Groundlings, the main company. And I basically at that top level, yeah, they take a vote, and the Groundlings decide if you're up or out. And unfortunately, I didn't make the cut. I was out. I wasn't fired. I just, but the good news is that the the list of people who have been dismissed from the Groundlings is even more prestigious than the ones who have become Groundlings. I mean, like, I did Adam Carolla's show once, and he and I have bonded over that. He was like, "Oh, I got fired from the Groundlings." Conan O'Brien never made Groundlings. Like, these are people, they all got, they're obviously hilarious. But at that level, it's almost like Sorority Rush. Like, you're funny. you're already in. It's a matter of like, who do they want to go to, frat parties with? Like, who do they want to go to the date party with at that level? I mean, of my little company, the 14 of us in the Sunday cast, 10 of us were cut with me. And then ultimately, only one went on to become a groundling. And she also went on to SNL.
Oh, wow.
And that was Michaela Watkins,
Okay.
who, she's gone on to be a series regular in, I don't know, half a dozen shows since. But anyway, the point is, I don't need to feel, bad about my, fall from the groundlings, because I think, honestly, I think they did me a favor. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, that was a breakup as significant as any heartache I've had, because I really I truly believe that was my one-stop shop surefire way to SNL, which is what I always wanted. And so when I lost that, I kind of felt like, well, now what? And I actually quit acting for like a full year of my life. The director at the time, which I won't name her name, but she basically convinced me that I was, talentless. And I figured, she's a director, she must be right. And so I quit, and I went ahead and got a boyfriend and got a day job, and I did all the things that I'd been kind of denying myself because I was, full-time Groundling Sunday Company aspiring actor sort. And I did those things, and for about a year, and then I realized, wow, I am really unhappy. Like, I'm at the end of the day, I'm an artist, I'm a creator, and if I'm not creating, then yeah. Anyway, I ended up going back to acting and writing and creating, and so they broke me for a bit, but I came back, and I think and when I say came back, I don't mean I came back to the Groundlings. I just got back to acting and writing again, and but I think, like I said, I think they did me a favor. Like, I think that I was not meant to do sketch. I think I was destined for bigger things than doing 2 to 3 minute sketches on Melrose Avenue in Los Angeles. Like, I think but because they made, set me free, I had to go on and like find my own way. And I honestly, I think, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm still friends with many, many Groundlings, and they've gone on to do great things, but like, just because they're at the Groundlings doesn't mean they've gone on to do anything greater than I have without them. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
So a couple questions about that. So you mentioned SNL. Is that why a lot of people join the Groundlings? Is it like a stepping stone to SNL?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For, it, at the time, it was definitely considered kind of like, this is where, at least on the West Coast, Lorne Michaels would come. It's kind of the factory where funny folks come from out here. Kind of like Second City in Chicago, or I'm sure there's like an equivalent in Second City in Toronto. Like, this is where they come from.
Sure.
Yeah.
We talked to Larry Hankin last week. He started the committee in and was that in San Francisco, right?
Oh yeah, I think
I believe so.
Years. This was in the 60s, I think. But so about the skits, you said about the skits that you would write a lot of skits every week that you had to come up, and then some would be used on the stage. So after you're gone, are they still, like, how does that work? Are they still using your skits, or is it everything constantly changing?
It's constantly changing. So we would write, I would, like I said, write about 5 to 7 sketches a week. 2 to 3 to 5 would be chosen for any given week. And then that week they would be presented on stage. So imagine on a Wednesday, I pitch, I go to my pitch meeting, I share my writing. Then they give us notes. Thursday, Friday, we're rewriting. Saturday, we've got a list of like, this is your show for tomorrow. And we, memorize and block and find costumes and wigs. And then Sunday, it's on stage. So it was a real, but that's SNL for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously, SNL has much higher stakes because there's, way more eyeballs on you. But also SNL, they get cue cards. They can do a second take. You know what I mean? Whereas this is like, this is a stage. So there's no like,
Right.
cut.
Do they ever film it?
No, never.
Never.
No,
Wow.
it's a very mysterious place, and I'm probably like, well, they've already fired me, if you will. So it doesn't matter now, but there's a lot of like lore around them, and listen, they could do an amazing reality show if they ever wanted to just sell out and like tell all their secrets, because there's some secrets, but they won't, and I understand that.
Sure. So is that what led to the YouTube channel then, after you coming back?
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I said,
Wanting something to do?
I was in a dark place. Like that was supposed to be my stepping stone to where I wanted to go. And when that didn't work out, I kind of thought about it, and I was like, okay, so I won't be on SNL by way of Melrose Avenue, but that doesn't mean I can't, like, these sketches can still live and breathe and, have a life off of Melrose. Like I can stick them on YouTube. Like, we're living in a day and age where you can do that. And I did. So that was just my way of kind of coping, of like, I've not had a real traditional trajectory. I wasn't cast in a traditional way forever, really. I have since, but I really needed to pave my own way. I needed to, I wasn't getting, people weren't writing me roles, so I had to write them myself, cast myself. And so, yeah, that's really what you're watching. Just, a young Naomi wanting to work as an actor. And so that's how I made it happen.
Yeah. Well, some of the ones I watched that I thought were really funny. The hot yoga one, Men at Work, Para-Drunken Activity, Forget About It, How to Ditch a Chick, and Touch My Junk.
Wow, you really went down that rabbit hole, didn't you?
Yeah. Really funny. I liked it.
Oh, well, I love that. I'm so glad, because a lot of people only know me for, that show that we're not supposed to talk about because we're on strike.
Yeah.
But the fact is there's a lot more to me. Like I'm a lot of actors, like, that's what I really hate about acting, actually, is that we're so often at the mercy of others, producers, casting directors, whoever, other creatives, to put us in projects. And like, that's just not me. I'm very proactive. I'm type A. I don't let grass grow. I get it done. And so I've sort of, what is the expression, like, made it happen for myself. And even on a small scale, a lot of those little shorts that you're referring to, I actually like paid for, if you will, with the my meager Spanish teacher budget at the time. Touch My Junk was shot in my Spanish classroom where I had my day job, and I remember distinctly praying the director of the school did not walk by while I was feeling up my co-stars.
That's awesome. When did Girl in Argentine Landscape come about? Is it Argentine or Argentina Landscape?
Well, Argentine or Argentine, you can either or. It's
Okay.
tomato. That was before all that, actually.
Oh, okay.
That was in 2002.
I watched, so I'm like kind of disappointed. Somebody has part 1 and 2. There's like, I watched 18 minutes of it today, but I can't find the rest of it, and I'm like, now I want to see the rest.
Okay, I don't. You'll have to message me privately what you're referring to. I want to see what you're talking about.
Yeah, I will send it to you.
Because that shouldn't be available.
Okay.
I didn't put that out.
No, it's definitely not on your channel. No.
No. I have a.
But now I need to see the rest of it.
Oh,
so.
that's sweet. Well, I listen. I have them usually on my like table at Comic-Cons, and nothing makes me more excited than when someone wants to buy that, because for the most part, like I said, people just want the Pepper picture, and that's great. She's done very well for me. I'm not gonna bite the hand that feeds me, but the fact is, that my solo shows especially are like my babies. Like, I birthed those. They took 9 months to conceive and create, and I didn't have a giant budget behind me. I had my Spanish teacher wage. So I take real ownership and pride, because they were very successful in this, in the, relatively speaking, as successful as a one-woman show can be. It's not a blockbuster hit on FX or anything, but for what they were.
Well, yeah, I have a few questions about that. So how much, is it pretty true? All, like, from what I've seen, like, were you an exchange student? And all that?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm wearing the Argentinian jersey right now. I'm happen to be going to some Argentinian bands at the Hollywood Bowl later tonight, so I'm dressed for the occasion. But it's a true story.
That's awesome. Now I really need to see the rest of it. So have you ever thought about trying to make that into something more, like into more than a one-woman show, like a movie or something?
Yeah,
there's definitely a lot to it.
Well, that particular story feels like a feature to me. Some things feel episodic, like you could visit this every week, and that feels like it has a very clear beginning, middle, end. So I think that's a movie. I think my second show, Carnival Knowledge, is absolutely a series.
That's what I was gonna get into that next. The Carnival Knowledge. I watched some of those are on your YouTube channel. Some of them,
yes,
and some of those are some of those the true stories of the skits from much earlier. Like I watched the yoga one, and it seemed pretty close to the hot yoga.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. I am a yogi. I've practiced 24 years, hour and a half a day, every day. So I'm very dedicated. And so, I spend at least an hour and a half every day breathing and twisting myself into shapes. And obviously, brainstorming, like, what would be funny in this situation. So I have lots of yoga sketches swimming around in my head. There's only the, hot yoga actually made it to the stage. And then, of course, the solo show kind of monologue version as well. They're different. I think the one is more a fantasy of the other. Like in the stage play, and this is totally true, I fell in love with the yoga teacher, and now in retrospect, having done so much yoga, I realized I wasn't so much in love with him as I was the actual yoga. Like, yoga makes you feel amazing, like sex. It's that good. And so I just assumed, like, oh, I'm feeling things for him. What I didn't realize is like, no, you're feeling things because you're feeling things, because yoga makes you feel things. And so now having, studied with dozens of teachers in my life, I realized like it wasn't him, it was just yoga. But I didn't know that at the time because it was the first I was feeling those things. But anyway, when I did that in that show, I actually invited him, and he didn't think it was so funny. He was kind of taken aback. But to be fair, it was a composite character. Like I changed his name. I want to say I like renamed him like Deepak Raghunathanan or something ridiculous. And I made him like, I don't know, like an Italian from Brooklyn or something. You know what I mean? Like somebody who should not have the name Deepak Raghunathanan. But I'm sure there's got to be an Italian in Brooklyn named Deepak Raghunathanan. It.
Has to be.
Absolutely.
So you said it takes you 9 months to prepare for one of these?
Yeah. I mean, maybe I work slow, but yeah, yeah. That's my process. I mean, I definitely, they're very kind of like finely tuned, it, like I'll sit there for hours, and like, what's the right article in the moment? Like I said, it's a very different process than what I was doing at the Groundlings. The Groundlings was like, you're writing today, tomorrow it's on stage. Good luck, and this is like, again, they did me a favor. Now I can work on my timeline, and my timeline is much slower, and that's okay.
So basically you find what you want, and then you fine tune it over a long time until it's exactly the way you want it, as opposed to the improv where you just throw it out there and hope for the best.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I said, it's not to say I can't do both. Like I've done a ton of improv in my life, and I'm sure it served me in the other, but ultimately I would much rather put out something that's finely crafted and that I've like really carefully curated personally.
I forgot to ask this about the YouTube shorts. What is Red Meat Entertainment?
So that's really just a name that I gave myself to sound bigger than I am. I figured I was cranking out all this content. I needed a kind of a umbrella for it all, and so that's what I called it. I mean, it's not an LLC proper. If you Google it, you won't find it other than Naomi Grossman's production company. But
sure.
Yeah.
Sometimes I take terrible notes and I just have written down the Red Bull van story. What does that mean? Anything to you?
Yeah, sure, of course. You did your homework. I'm impressed. So I was a Red Bull girl for a while. When I first moved to LA, we all have, actors have their ding dong jobs, and that was mine. It made it into the new show, this most recent one-woman show, American Horror Story. I talk about being a Red Bull girl, and I crashed it into a shopping mall. I forgot about the giant can on the top. I was eventually fired for leaving it parked outside my apartment while I napped inside, which was ironic because my job was literally to seek people in need of energy. and yet clearly I was the one in need of energy. Yeah, I mean, that's just one of like many, many, many stupid ding dong jobs I had, like, and that's part of this new show, which is, the whore of American Horror Story is not promiscuous. She's a hustler. She does what she's got to do to get what she wants. She whores out. And sometimes she's hawking Red Bull, and sometimes it's Marlboro. And sometimes it's the True campaign in the same day. You know what I mean? Like, again, not above me. Like, I will sell you cigarettes, and then I will tell you about the dangers of smoking, all in the same breath, because girls gotta eat, and
That's right.
that's what the show's about.
You always wanted to be an actress, right?
Always.
Since you were a little girl. Do you remember like the first time you thought that's what I want to do?
Yeah, I feel like it was probably age 3, maybe, in the theater watching whatever was in the theater in the 70s, and saying, like, I want to be up there. Like, I don't want to be down here. I don't want to be sitting here watching. I want to be in the lights. I want to be in the limelight. And yeah. So I did. I remember.
That's awesome. Were your parents supportive of it?
Yeah, they were. My parents are both artists. My dad's an architect. My mom's a pianist. So, they weren't actors, but I mean, they were performers in their own right. Even though my dad wasn't like an actual performer, like he's an artist performer. What I'm trying to say is, yes, my mom is an actual performer, like playing piano. My dad is more like a performer personality. Like, he has the same, like, if he were to do the Enneagram, that's how he would, he falls into that category, like someone who, I don't want to say needs attention, but because we're very different in that regard. Like, I actually need attention, whereas he, I think, is, you know what, this became therapy, and I'm not sure I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah, he enjoys the attention where you need the attention.
Maybe, yeah. I think my dad is like a super duper duper high achiever. Like, he's literally like nationally ranked tennis player, hockey goalie, criterium cyclist, motorcyclist, architect, professor, painter, potter, jeweler, basket maker, wine connoisseur, gourmet chef, classical music aficionado. Like, he's all these things. And I think he does it because he somehow like gets off on being the best and having eyeballs on him. I think he, yeah, I that's my own sort of psychoanalysis of my dad. And I think I totally, by the way, I'm the exact same way. So I'm not as good at all those things. I'm only good at like 2 things, yoga and acting. Oh, and writing. So, he's got me beat on that, but I do relate to this sort of like need to achieve. And again, it's all in the show. Like, this hustler is part of me. Somebody just recently in an interview asked me, what would you tell your younger self? Like, what advice might you give? And I was like, well, I would say to chill out, like, just chillax, let things happen, just trust the universe, like, but that's not me. Like, like, I would never do that. Like, that would require a complete and total like lobotomy. You know what I mean? So I could say that to my younger self, but like, that would be so contrary to, like, I would never say that to me, because it just wouldn't even.
Well, people that do that do that sometimes let opportunities pass them by also.
Yeah.
I mean, non-hustlers.
I see myself as being really like twisting, like forcing, my square peg into round holes half the time, and sometimes it's just not right, and sometimes, like, just if I just let it happen, and like, if it's not right, like, let it go. I think I would be well served to take that advice, but I think that's not me. Like, I think I'm like I said, I make things happen. And so, I could tell my younger self that, but I wouldn't have heard. I wouldn't be able to hear that.
Right.
know.
You mentioned art. The art behind you, is that fan art? Did people
Yeah,
give you
it
that
is.
stuff?
I got a whole room. It's 4 walls of just ego.
No, that's
No,
cool.
I'm kidding. No, I mean, this is the same way parents have their, kids chicken scratch on the refrigerator. This is my fan art. These are my I love this. This is the place I come to like just feel great about myself.
Yeah.
This is the stuff I would run for this. Like for in the case of a fire, this is the first stuff that's coming with me.
Nice.
It means so much,
Yeah. So I know we can't talk about it, but can you talk about the American horror story? Your next the next play, or
Oh,
have you
my
already
next
been
show.
performing?
Yeah. I mean, we've been talking about it.
Sure. Have you
Yeah, what would
already
you like
been
to know?
performing it?
Yeah, it's gonna be in New York, at the AMT, which is off-Broadway theater, right in Times Square, in January. So I would say we haven't like officially announced that, but you can follow me on my socials for all the details. You could also just go to the website, which is AmericanHorrorStory.com, and I want to see there's even a place you can like put your email for updates, and you'll get them.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Ray, what did we miss? What do you have for Naomi?
Well, I'm going to throw out my real question here, which is I'm going to ask you a question, and you have 60 seconds to answer it.
Oh, you know how hard that's going to be.
I do know how hard that is. A lot of people struggle with this one, and some people give me one-word answers. So please don't do that.
Oh,
So,
I would never.
Okay. So here's the question. If you could pick any sitcom that ever existed to be a part of, which one would you pick?
Sex and the City. I don't know if that's considered a sitcom, but I mean, Carnival Knowledge is that. It's a different coast, crappier shoes, but that's my life. Like I have a Miranda and a Carrie and a Charlotte in my life. I'm Samantha. Like yeah, yes. I mean, when on the walls that don't have fan art, I have racks and racks and racks of clothing, and ridiculous clothes like tutus that you would walk through, rainstorms in, like just like Carrie Bradshaw, like that is who I am. I feel like every day is an opportunity for performance. And so, today I'm Lionel Messi. Tomorrow, yeah, I might just rock her tutu to the grocery store like you do. And so, yeah, I just remember definitely kind of coming of age to that show and feeling like those were my girls, like that's my life, or at least I wanted it to be.
Awesome.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah.
Was that
Naomi,
under 60 seconds? I don't think so.
Pretty close.
I think you came in just under, but I think you did it.
Naomi, thank you so much for spending some time with us and telling us your stories. And I will send you those links so you can get that taken care of in exchange for maybe a copy of it, because I need to see the rest of it.
Oh, that's sweet. Well,
no, I'm gonna send it to you either way, but
well, yeah, I'm just curious how that's even up there, because don't get me wrong, I suppose when I, like I said, sell somebody the DVD, they could technically do whatever they want with it, right?
Mhm.
I'm trying, listen, the dream is to take all 3 of them and get myself a Netflix deal. I want to have, I want my comedy special. And while they're buying the 1, why not get 2 and 3 too? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm a little bit protective, because I want to keep them,
sure.
intellectual property. But I suppose you know, kind of like when there's a copycat on social media, like, hey, I'm flattered. Like somebody thinks it's worthy entertainment and is willing to put it up on their channel. Maybe, you know, maybe I shouldn't be mad at it.
Well, no, because you can, I mean, you know, I get mad when somebody takes one of my pictures or and I always try and put my watermark on everything, but yeah, no, that's yours, that it,
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're
if
right.
you're selling them, you don't want someone else putting that stuff up on their channel when you could be getting those views
Yeah,
if you
I
want to
should
put
be
it on your
getting that.
channel,
Exactly.
So yeah, I'll send you that link. But please tell everyone where they can find you, any upcoming appearances, all that. Oh, and are we allowed to talk about Replica at all, or no?
Sure, actually, yeah. Replica's an indie movie, so anything that's not affiliated with the AMPTP is fine. I just saw it for the first time on Friday. You know, I'm terrible at watching myself. It is not easy for me. Um,
Why? As with as much attention as you need, you don't like watching yourself?
I know. I know. Like I said, I probably need to be talking to a therapist about this, somebody other than you. You've been very kind, but I don't know how much you're going to help me here. No. Yeah, I don't know. I just it's hard. It's cringy. Don't get me wrong. The movie I quite enjoyed, but I mean, listen, I stopped worrying about being attractive on screen. I never worried about that actually. So I'm quite ugly in this, but that's also the character. I'm a neo-Nazi pregnant meth head. So, not exactly a beauty queen. Um and that's fine. That's what I signed up for.
Better watch yourself. That's Ray's kind of girl.
I was gonna say I just punched that into Tinder the other night looking for that.
Well, I'm pleased to say that it's just a role, and you're not going to find me on there, but yeah, I mean, it's a really raw movie, and I'm not sure where it's going to wind up. Like, I don't think it's definitely not going to be on Disney. It's pretty violent. There's a lot of drugs. There's some, just some kind of rough content. It is based on a real story, and I think there's some really good acting in it. I'm not saying I did it, but I think there's some really standout performances.
Now,
And
did Mickey Rourke direct that, or is he in it,
he's in
or
it.
he's just in it? Okay.
He has a small part. My
Okay.
part's bigger, but I haven't won any Oscars, so until I do,
Not yet.
yeah, not yet. Anyway, yeah, like I said, I had a great time doing it. I think I had more fun doing it than I actually had watching it, only because I was kind of like, this the whole time. But that's my own issues.
All right.
It's just
Well,
hard. I think it's, again, coming from theater and especially improv, where if I am losing the audience, like if it's tanking, I can actually do things to like pivot and fix it. Whereas on screen, it's done. Like it's in the can. We shot this 2 years ago. Like there's absolutely nothing I can do. I'm 100% at the mercy of the editor, whose job is done as well. So, I guess that's why all you can do is just sit there and be like, okay, like, it's like driving down a cliff, only you can't the wheel doesn't move for you, you
yeah.
know?
Now,
Yeah.
unlike the other than like, so if you're filming something though, and you don't like the take, are you able to say, especially like in an indie film like that, are you allowed to say, "Let me try that again"? Like, where on stage, you can't do that.
Right. I mean, the beauty of stage is you usually have so much rehearsal that you don't need to do that ideally. Whereas film and television, so many times you're coming in, I had no rehearsal. It was like, nice to meet you, and scene. Like, yes, you can, but the less money you have, the less time you have.
Sure.
And so for especially an indie like this, there wasn't any of either. So sure, if I really objected to anything, I could say, hey, can we try that again? But honestly, I don't think we did more than 2 takes for anything. That was a 12-day shoot.
Oh,
Like
wow.
an entire 100 and I want to say it was over 2 hour. Was it over 2 hours? Maybe not. I want to say it was like an hour and 45-minute movie, but that they shot in 12 days.
Wow.
So no, they moved right along.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah.
And seeing the rest of the stage play, Girl in Argentine Landscape.
Okay.
But please tell us where everybody can find you, the upcoming show in January, the dates for that, all that good stuff.
Okay, sure. Let's see. My socials are Naomi W. Grossman on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. I'm verified, so you'll know that one's me. Oh, no, my bad. That's Facebook, X, and Instagram. On YouTube and Twitter, there's no W. But like I said, I'm verified. So if there's a Naomi Grossman with a blue check mark, that's me. And I didn't pay for it, by the way, so I guess I'm not verified on X anymore. Let's see. You can look at my website is just naomigrossman.net. And that's where you can find out all about American Horror Story, or you can go to its website, which is americanhorrorstory.com. And if you click on the Get Ticks tab, it'll point you to wherever you can get ticks, which I think at this point is just this quick little kind of show. I'm going to do kind of dust the cobwebs off in New Mexico, which is where my family lives. And so I'm going to be there in the holidays in preparation for the big, off-Broadway debut in January, which,
Awesome.
like I said, those tickets aren't quite available yet, but they will be shortly. So I recommend people, follow and you'll see exactly when we make that announcement.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us a little bit here today.
Of course.
And we will talk to you again soon.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Okay.
Bye-bye.